We've moved inside Larian Games booth here at E3 to find out a little bit more about Divinity Original Sin, and that is perhaps a game that feels more familiar to players of previous games.
Yeah, it's very much a back to the roots game for us. I mean, it's heavily based on the original Divinity, but it has multiplayer in there. It has an editor with which people can make their own stories and adventures, and then it obviously also has a tactical turn-based combat with action points.
So could you tell us a little bit about the setting, the story, and what's going on in the game?
So it's a direct prequel to the original Divinity, and it's actually going to end pretty much close to the events of the first game. And players take control over two protagonists initially. One of them is a condemned warrior who has known nothing but torture in the last couple of years, and the other one is a mystic who has been restored to life. And together there's one thing that's special about them: they are capable of resisting a strange new form of magic which is being used by the bad guys, and they can also control that, and they use it to try to figure out what the hell is going on, and as they do so they discover all kinds of things.
So Divinity has a unique take on sort of how the role play or sort of the gaming mechanics are playing out. You have a lot of freedom there. It is almost like a little bit of a sandbox game in that sense. Could you just talk us through some of the features and what people will recognize and what kind of new features you bring?
Okay, so what they'll definitely recognize is that there's plenty of stuff to do. I mean, Divinity was always a game about exploring and discovering things to do. The item interaction has been taken much further, so it's got things like put an apple on a health potion, you get a detox potion, or use a poisonous mushroom with a sword, you're going to get a poisonous sword. And like this, there's plenty of examples for people to discover. What's going to be taken further also is how the world reacts to what you do. So we have this very complex attitude system. To the player it's really simple, but what's behind it is really complex, so that's going to be pretty cool. So people will react to you thieving or destroying things, but also to the actions that you've been taking in the world. And then probably the most important thing, at least for me, is the way that we've introduced this dual dialogue system, where characters interact with one another like you would in a tabletop RPG.
That was a very interesting point, because you allow players to take turn in speaking, but also there could be situations where you disagree and there will be a dice roll, and then sort of your attributes will sort of dictate how that will play out, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so the dual dialogue system is basically the idea is that when you're playing a tabletop RPG and you have multiple party members, it's not one guy who's making all the decisions you discuss. So what we did is we put that in a computer game and we allow you to role play those discussions. So when one character enters conversation and the other characters are nearby, they will also join in the conversation and they can take part in making the decisions. And then they might not disagree, and when that happens, their stats are going to become important. Like I would be wearing a ring of +20 charisma, so I just pretty much get whatever I want to have, but the other guy might be very strong, so he might try to intimidate you. And so if you're role-playing that with what's happening on the screen, you get quite a lot of fun coming out of that.
And could you have different dialogue options for different characters as well in the same situation?
Yeah, definitely, because the two protagonists are male and a female. That opens up different dialogue conversations that go on.
Intriguing. I'm just thinking of all the possibilities there. There's a lot.
Now, that's the thing. I mean, we were talking to a lot of people and said, why has nobody come up with this before? I mean, because it's fairly straightforward. Once you see it, you say, yeah, this works. And I mean, it started out from the idea, like, imagine that if you're playing it together, say with a friend or with your girlfriend, and you're playing this game and you're say that you're cheating on your girlfriend. Imagine that. And you're going to encounter a situation in the game while you're playing with your girlfriend, which is about cheating on the girlfriend, and like the girl goes like, well, that's repulsive, and then you say, well, you know, in certain circumstances that would be a lot, and then she would like be looking at you, what the hell are you saying? But you're role playing it on the game, so you get these things, these mirror images of very recognizable situations. That's what we're trying to do.
I suppose that's why you need to be a good liar if you're a cheater.
I didn't say I'm not cheating on my girlfriend, I guarantee you. But I gave you an example because it's a recognizable situation to a lot of males, apparently statistically.
I didn't know about that. But anyway, it's a huge game with, I think 40 hours was thrown out there. But then you've got the editor, which sort of adds infinite amounts of content for players to explore.
To me, it was really clear the moment that we decided that we're going to put the multiplayer in. And it's actually the third time I tried to make a multiplayer RPG, because the first Divinity was supposed to be multiplayer, cancelled by the publisher. The second one, same story, cancelled by the publisher. So this time we're publishing it ourselves, so there's no way we're going to cancel it. But the moment you do multiplayer in an RPG, you have to have an editor that people can make their own adventures, because otherwise they finish playing it and that's it. And you want them to make their new adventures. And what I want to do is sit at home with my girlfriend and play adventures that other people have been making. That's why we're giving it to players. So no DLC shit and all that stuff. They can basically make their own DLCs.
And they're be given all the same tools as your designers?
Literally the same tools. Because we don't have any other tools.
All right. And when's Original Sin due out?
When it's ready is the answer I want to give. It's currently scheduled for the middle of 2013, but we'll see. I mean, we still have a year of development going, so we'll see where we end up. And we're not going to ship if it's not ready.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Cool.